I have to keep looking at what's happening. Hey everybody, in tonight's video we're going to go through exactly what transpired today and what to look for tomorrow to see if this is going to continue or if it's going to be like the entire year's been, which is just what we're going to refer to as flim-flam, getting us involved and then pulling back down. Now, I'm going to just start here with just a very simple daily chart on Tesla, and we're just going to look at the 50-day SMA. You can put in an EMA too, that's up to you. Whatever you use. There's a reason why I don't use the EMA all the time, but there's a way to trade the EMA. I actually did a video on it. But the reason I'm bringing it up is right now I just want to use the SMA. I just want to know where everybody is, and this is the easiest way to determine that. The EMA is front-loaded. It's just the calculation on how they're constructed. But you have this trend line right here, and you have this trend line right here. And I just kind of want to point this out because if you take a look at this on a 4-hour chart, okay, this is what you're dealing with. So I don't see the big push or the big breakthrough yet. And I just want people to understand that. Could this break out and go? It absolutely could. And your first target on that is always going to be the top of the wedge line, which is going to be here, 792. So this can absolutely happen. And this could absolutely be the target. My concern is that people do it and jump it beforehand, right? Like this was pretty clear. We talked about this in the trading room. I came in short it, but we talked about if you got over this doji that you could get to 730. You could get to this level. Well, that's where you got to. But the question is, what do you do now, right? Because you can't do anything about the past. You can only move forward. So, okay, so this is where we're at. Well, what's happened every single time we've gotten to this trend line? Well, here it rejected. We didn't get there this time. This time twice we tested this line. Here we are again. So maybe we're better off seeing if this is going to hit a higher high. And then if it does tomorrow, maybe then we could get involved. And then if we thought about it from that perspective, by the time that we made that higher high, we're going to be through this trend line, aren't we? So then we could just wait and take a look at the 4-hour bar and make sure that we're through and push. That's how I would trade Tesla tomorrow if you're looking on the long side. Caveat, just FYI, I still have puts on this, and I could be dead wrong, and I will be the first to reverse the position. But that's where I'm at right now. I want to be up and in, no different than when, let me show you one that we just did this with, and people didn't understand why I was short at the time. So I shorted right in here, I shorted NVIDIA, and then there was about 30 points in there. Whether you stayed in it and you're rallying it back up to this line or not remains to be seen. But this is your trend line on NVIDIA. You ran right to it, okay? We didn't flip it yet, right to it. If we broke down these time frames, we can see clearly what's going on with them. And let's just draw that line so you can get this, right? Because it's the same thing over and over again, right? Once you understand patterns, that's all you need. So you can see this line. You could see how you could get up to here and still be in the same downward trend that you've been in for 2 months, right? Now remember, you have a lot of data coming out next week, okay? That data is going to move the markets one way or another. And we're going to talk about the indexes at the end of this, so stay to the end. But I want to just focus on these big names. People are out there going, oh, we have to get involved, just like here, right? And then it trades sideways for 4 or 5 days and then broke down. You need to be really careful here and not just jump right into it. Just let me give you an example of this so you understand what I'm saying. So this is the SOX. This is the trend of the SOX. Now, if you take this out and you move this up here, okay, I've got 2 days of higher highs. I don't really understand all the, I don't understand all the excitement just yet. I don't see it. This time we're really going to go. This is what you've been dealing with all year. So I would just tell you to slow your roll a little bit and just let this play itself out. What I was showing them in the trading room today was just this. Like, look, this is where we're at. So could we go higher? Sure. Are there some signs that we're going to go higher? Yes, there's a couple out there, but there's also like a glaring warning sign, which I'm going to go over. So if you take a look at what's going on here with Apple, this is highly impressive. Now, what's impressive about it? Well, it's impressive that a couple days ago, yesterday actually, Goldman came out and downgraded them and said the bear case for the stock is 82, the bull case is 130. And the stock is now at 146. So obviously it disagrees, right? The players are disagreeing with this and they're buying the stock. So you've come down here, right? Tried to run, pulled back, gotten over. So you have to pay attention to this now, right? Again, caveat, I'm still short this because I think it may reject here because we've rejected here and we've rejected here, right? So there's only one time when we have not rejected this and gone substantially higher, and it's been back here. It only happened once this year. So I'm a person that looks at patterns. I can't, if I use this move, right, I can't build a trading system off of that, or I can't build a trading system off of this, right? I have to keep looking at what's happening and go from there. I can't make enough off of this to pay for these. So I have to realize that I'm better off assuming that the downward trend is going to continue. Why? The trend is down. Just look at where the moving averages are pointing. If the moving average is pointing down, your trend is down. It's not, don't overcomplicate this part of it, right? Doesn't mean that eventually someday it won't go up, right? Just take a look at LABU. So, it's down until it's not down and starts to curve, right? We saw this with XBI, okay? It's down, it closes, and eventually you start turning, and this is going to start curling up, right? This actually hit a high today, closed at a new high. So this is the space that we've been talking about saying to continue to focus on, and I would continue to focus on that space. But where I'm going with this is, don't just, everybody wants to buy because it's easier to buy than it is to short, and I get it. And all I'm suggesting that you do is just look at where your support and resistance lines are and focus on those, and don't overcomplicate it. Some of these are getting through support and resistance lines. Some of these are butting right against them and haven't proven themselves yet. Some of these have broken out, okay? And they might reject or they might push higher. But if you were going to be a betting person, maybe buying the ones that are hitting the higher highs is where to go. And I'm saying this is somebody that's short Apple. So that's really where my focal point would be. Now, as far as news outstanding on other names, I do want to go through this because this is fascinating. So everybody's basically wrote this company off for dead, and it appears that the CEO is out there just buying stock in the open market, bought up to 50,000 shares. He doesn't need to do that. So I find that really interesting that he's just buying stock blatantly in the open market. This is not really my kind of trade, but it's definitely something that has my attention, and I started picking at it. I do think that maybe we can trade up to this 8 3/4 and see how it acts. This is substantial volume. This is the kind of volume that you have not seen, for close to a year. Actually, you didn't even see it back then. So you haven't even seen this volume since June of 21. So that it's the highest volume you've had in a year. If you look at it in regards to relative volume, okay, you're at 7.5 times. This is not that hard of a trade. Treat it like an option, right? If it takes up that low, 464, you just get out of the way. But I like it, and I think it could work. I would tell you also to focus on a couple key things. Number one, the junk bond market is moving higher, okay? And that means that people are buying junk bonds. Now, people are buying junk bonds, okay, as they're selling treasuries, right? So that's somewhat interesting, okay? So people are selling treasuries and they're buying junk bonds. Well, what's that going to do? Well, that's going to make the spread of those get tighter. That spread determines risk, so that is a positive. Now, I'm going to just point out one glaring warning sign. This is the VIX, and I'm going to give you a couple dates here. Now, this is the curve, okay? So we can see how this is curving. We can see how we've been hitting lower lows, right? And now we're hitting higher lows. We can see this curve, right? So we're aware that we're in an environment where the volatility and indecisiveness is increasing, not decreasing. Now, this is the trend line. And what I'm going to point out is that instead of looking at a number, maybe, and let's get rid of this 50, maybe understand how this is getting tighter and tighter, and look what happens every time we get to this line. The volatility spikes. So I want to just remember these 4 times: April 5th, April 21st, June 9th, and today, July 7th. So I'm going to use the S&P, and you can do this with the NASDAQ as well. So there's April 5th, and that clearly is the move before we broke down. April 21st, clearly before we broke down. June 9th, well, we actually broke down on the 9th, I believe. That was here, and then we broke down, okay? And now you're here in the same situation, all right? So what we're doing is we're overlaying the VIX, okay, with the S&P, and we're noticing patterns. And this is how I trade. Not everybody trades the same way, but I'm constantly looking for patterns, okay? I am interested in why it's happening, but it's more important for me to understand the pattern because I can make money off the pattern, right? Whenever we're getting to a certain level of volatility based upon where the S&P is, that's when they are increasing their VIX exposure via puts and we're spiking up. So that's why I'm paying attention to this level. And that's why I'm saying that although this chart, it looks like it's breaking out, I'm long puts, okay? I'm not short stock, I'm long puts there. Okay, this, I have all these puts. I actually have stock too that I'm short. Now, again, I'll be the first to reverse it, but that's why I'm trying to get ahead of it. When we got ahead of this last time, if you've been following along for some time, when we got ahead of this last time, if you don't subscribe, there's a free newsletter in the description below. But when we got ahead of this last time here, and I started buying puts here, no one got it. And then they got it when it finally happened. Okay, you have to think about where it's going, not where it is, right? And you want to analyze. Don't forecast, right? Analyze. We can all have ideas on where this is going, right? Like if we break here, technically, I think you're going to 315. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but I could keep that as a target. But I still have to look every single day at the underlying action of the market, right? That's what we do. We analyze. We don't forecast. Let the economists do that. Right? You know, for every economist has two opinions. So keep that in mind. All right. Have a great evening. If you need anything, please reach out. Please comment on these videos. That's why they're being done this way. Comment below if you would like to see a Thursday video done live at night instead of doing a top 5, because, you know, we don't do a live one on Friday morning. I do that privately for the group. So I'm considering doing a live stream Thursday night to go over some of this for about a half hour. I think that might be better for everyone, but just let me know your thoughts on that and we'll go from there. Everyone, trade to win tomorrow.